Dear ladies and gentlemen, I would like to warmly welcome you at the National Information Day focused on the European Research Council and its funding opportunities. My name is Lyudmyla Tysyachna. I'm the national contact point for ERC, as well as Marie Skladovska-Curie Action applicants, and I'm pleased to guide you through the first two sessions. This event is organized by Technology Centre Prague in kind cooperation with Charles University and the expert group for supporting ERC applicants. As you know from the agenda, today you will have the opportunity to get acquainted with the ERC in an all-encompassing manner. Apart from sessions devoted to the very basics of the ERC, there will be also a section about institutional support system at selected Czech research organizations, which might serve as an inspiration to others as well. And we will round the day off with a panel debate with successful Czech applicants about their experience with ERC so far. Let me express our huge thanks for the high interest in participating in today's event. As the demand has been much higher than the number of places that we could offer, we have decided to record today's event as well, so the recording will be available on our YouTube channel afterwards. The last organizational detail concerns raising questions. As this is an on-site event, you will have the opportunity, of course, to raise your questions orally, but we have also prepared a Slido for those who prefer to raise their questions in an anonymous mode. So the hashtag for today is ERC. And this is it from me for the very introduction. I hope that you will have an inspiring conference. And with this, I'd like to welcome our first honorable guest, Professor Alice Valkárová, who is the member of the Scientific Council of the ERC and who will present the novelties of the Work Program 2024. So please, Dr. Valkárová, the floor is yours.
So good morning, everybody. So I will tell you some info about the recent ERC activities and novelties related to the Work Program 2024. I will start with some outline of the presentation. So I will mention shortly what is ERC, you know, everybody knows here, and about ERC grant schemes. Then few words about the application and evaluation process, including novelties in Work Program 2024, and then some overview of ERC projects in Czech Republic. So you know that ERC is a part of Horizon Europe. So ERC budget in Horizon Europe is 16 billion euros. And so there are three pillars in Horizon Europe. So this is excellent science, global challenges and industrial competitiveness, and innovative Europe. And so European Research Council is a part of the pillar 1 together with Marie Skłodowska-Curie actions and infrastructures. And 17% of the entire Horizon Europe budget belongs to ERC. And for the Work Program 2024, they are allocated 2 billion, about 2 billion euros, and it will represent funding of about 950 grants. So about ERC, but you know everything, I think, so I will only repeat that scientific governance is done by Independent Scientific Council with 22 members. These are researchers from the whole Europe, and there is also president, and they are full authority over strategy of ERC. And they are supported by a dedicated implementation structure. This is the ERC Executive Agency, RCA. So this is the office. So you know that what gives you ERC project. So this is scientific freedom. Scientific excellence is the sole criterion, and support is done for individual scientists, so there are no consortia and no predetermined subjects. So it is purely bottom-up research. And support for frontier research is in all fields of science and humanities. And of course, there is done international peer review evaluation. So grant schemes, you probably also know, there are starting grants for young researchers 2 to 7 years after PhD, then consolidator grants 7 to 12 years after PhD, and advanced grants are for established researchers, and all these are for 5 years. And there are also synergy grants, where are 2 to 4 principal investigators, and so one of these can be based outside Europe or associated countries. And there is also another scheme. This is a proof of concept, and this is bridging a gap between this fundamental research and applications. So ERC grant offers independence and recognition and visibility. It is clear, as I said already, so you can work on the research topic of own choice, so this is purely bottom up, and you can gain financial autonomy for 5 or 6 years. You can also negotiate the best conditions of work with the host institution, and so grantees can keep affiliation with home institute outside Europe if they have some affiliation outside of Europe, but significant part, it means at least 50%, they can spend of their work time in Europe. So you can also attract excellent team members and collaborators from the other places, from anywhere in the world. And some team members can be also based outside of Europe. And these grants are fully portable, so you can move with grant within any European member state or associated country. So a few words about the application and evaluation. So here is some short summary of novelties in the work program 2024. There are some minor changes in the structure and descriptions of the panel. So there is a new panel in social sciences and humanities. And also there is a slight change in description of 2 panels in life sciences, and so that's it from the point of view of panels. And now there are some changes in the application. So now you can have their description of the up to 10 research outputs, and there is a short narrative. I will come to this also later on, and you can also describe your career breaks, diverse paths, and so on. And so now, no more, there are no prescriptive PI profiles as it was in the past. So it stays, of course, focus on research, so groundbreaking, ambitious, feasible. And there is also a change in evaluation procedure. So now only up to 44 proposals can be in the step 2. Yes, so because I will also come to this later on. So it is because there are interviews, and it is not possible to have more than 45 interviews in 1 week. So it is from the technical point of view for panelists, because panelists cannot stay in Brussels more, or they are not willing to stay in Brussels more than 1 week. So, and also now will be a new class of projects, A, non-invited, and they can, in the contrast to the last years, they can reapply next year. So, and there are also these lump sums, which are new for advanced grants, and so you ask for the amount for the funding, and full amount of your funding will be distributed to 2 steps, 80% in the beginning and 20% after you finished your project. And some other features will stay, so additional funding and portability remains. So now a few words about the curriculum vitae and track record. So there are personal details, education, employment position, and so on. It was like in the past. But research achievements and peer recognition is now slightly changed. So research outputs is up to 10 publications. So with some demonstration of advancement in the field, emphasis on the more recent achievements, and there is a short narrative on significance and capacity to carry out a research project. So no more some numbers, yes, some age indexes and so on. Yes, so now you should just write what is your contribution to the field, yes. So, and there you can write also some peer recognition, prizes, fellowship, academy membership, and so on. So there is also additional information about career breaks, diverse career paths, life events, and so on. And you can also mention some contributions to research community. So evaluation process you know. So this is for individual calls. There is a single submission, but a two-step evaluation. So in the step 1, remote assessment is done by panel members, and there is only, they see part B1, synopsis and curriculum, and then after panel meeting, they decide about the proposals which will not retain scores B and C, and applicants obtain the feedback. Then there are proposals not retained, so these are score A but not invited. They will be not invited to the next step, which is interviews. And then there is a third class of events, of proposals, which is proposal retained, so it has score 1 and it is invited for an interview. And in the step 2, so it is remote assessment by panel members and remote reviewers of full proposals. So now they evaluate parts B1 and B2. And then there is a panel meeting. There are interviews for these three calls. And then they build some ranked list of proposals with scores A and B, and they decide about this ranking of proposals, and then it will be decided who will be funded. So this is a new feature from 2024, because as I mentioned already, there is only possibility to evaluate 44 proposals as step 2, because it is interview limit. As I mentioned, so it is not possible to have more than 44 proposals, interviews in 1 week. Yes, so this is of course, it depends on panel. In some panels, we have many applications, and so it is problem with these numbers larger than 44 is only in some panels. So evaluation is, of course, based on excellence, which is the sole evaluation criterion. And so, of course, it is clear what is excellence in the research project. And there should be also excellence of the principal investigator, but there is one change. In the past, there was this evaluation was done 50 and 50. Yes? So 50% was on excellence of the research project, and excellence of the principal investigator was also 50%. Weight, yes, and now it is changed, and evaluation is primarily focused on the proposed research project. It is also because widening countries, because there were some problems. We just had a feeling that sometimes these widening countries have not so how to say, not so excellent curriculum like people from some institutions in the West. So focus on the extent to which so there is, of course, it also evaluated if PI has a required scientific expertise and capacity to successfully execute the project, but evaluation is primarily focused on the proposed research project. So contrary to what you may think, so budget is distributed among the scientific panels as function of demand. So it is not decided by scientific council or somebody else. It is just sum of demands on funding over all panels. So panel descriptors don't represent ERC scientific priorities, and success rate is not linked to academic age. And publication record is not decisive in selection of decisions. More, it is important to where are these publications, what is in these publications, what journals, what achievements, and host institution is not evaluation criterion. There are some rumors also. You can only apply for an ERC grant if you are a highly accomplished scientist. Of course, it is not true, because we have also starting grants and consolidator grants and so on. Yes, so it is clear that it is taken into account. Your career over these 10 to 12 years, last years. So to be successful, you need to continue on an established research line to prove continuity and credibility. So generally, the opposite is true. So panelists and ERC don't like this incremental research. So it is much better if you have some bright idea, and so panelists like it much more than if you work 10 years on the one topic. So if you have already obtained ERC grant, you are more likely to get another one. It is also not right. We have such a cases that people have two ERC grants in parallel. Yes, so it is not the problem. And the more socially or medically relevant a grant proposal is, so there are higher chances of it getting funded. So it is also not true, yes. So it is frontier research, so it doesn't matter if it has some applications which are already visible, or if it has some societal, medical, or clinical applications. So here is a work program for 2024. You can see that, for example, for starting grants, the deadline was in October, so now evaluation is going on. So consolidator grants, they will have the deadline in December. Advanced grant, they will be only next year. The call will be open only in May next year. And synergy grants are now just, deadline was just last week. So there is approximately also written budget. So now, overview of ERC project in ERC, maybe it is also interesting for you. I had shown it also last year, and now we are doing a little bit better. So our success rate, here's the success rate on the y-axis, and all these countries. In the right side, there are associated countries, and in the left side, there are European countries from the Europe. And you can see that we have now success rate about 7%, which is close to Portugal, Finland, slightly better than Italy. But some countries are not in so good position. For example, Poland has only 4%, Slovakia only 2%. And it is over all years, so from the 2007 to 2022. But you can see, of course, that there are countries which are much more successful than we are. For example, also Austria, yes, which has 15% success rate. So here are ERC funded projects by country of host institution, and these are absolute numbers, also from the 2007 to 2022. So you can see that now, at the moment, we obtained for the whole period, we obtained 63 grants. So it is comparable probably with Poland, Hungary, and Greece. And you can see also that the majority, but it will be seen better in another histogram, that the majority of grants are, our grants are starting grants. So now it is interesting histogram. What institutions in Czech Republic obtain the ERC grants? You can see here that the most successful is Academy of Sciences. Yes, it is, of course, it is distributed here to institutions. So it is not so evident, but if you look to this description on the left side, so it is clear. But concerning of universities, so on the first place it is Charles Universities and Masaryk Universities and Palacký Universities and ČVUT, then VUT in Brno, and so on, yes. And it is interesting also, if you see, so this Charles University obtained the majority of grants are starting grants, and no one advanced grant was obtained by people from Charles University. So here is also some overview since the start of ERC from the 2007. Now there are grants distributed to domains, and you can see that the most successful are the applicants from the field of physics and engineering, yes, because they obtained during this year 31 projects, and on the second position there are life sciences. And social sciences and humanities, it is only 11 projects. So now I show this histogram, which I like. It is a little bit old, yes, because it is from the 2020, and these are absolute numbers of obtained grants, and also top 1% highly cited publications from years 2005 to 2015. And you can see here that there is a Czech Republic with this arrow, and you can see that we have lower number of grants than it would correspond to the quality of Czech science, yes, because which is represented by the number of highly cited publication. So it is evident that one can motivate still Czech researchers to apply for ERC, because there is some chance that they will be successful. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Professor Valkárová, for this comprehensive presentation. We have one question on Slido, and I would also like to ask you here in the room if you have any question. In the meantime, we will read this one. So the question says, you mentioned that some team members can be based outside Europe. Does this apply only to synergy grants? Can you give an example?
So to synergy grants, it is clear. Because they are, these are not team members, they are just investigators, yes, from 2, 3, 4 countries, and they can be, of course, also people from outside European Union or associated countries. And some team members I cannot give you an example, I don't know, but I think that team members, as it was shown in the presentation, can be based outside Europe also. So this is one of options also.
If I may, the work program says that team members can indeed be based outside Europe, anywhere in the world, essentially, if it is well justified in the scientific terms in the proposal. And it happens. We have such proposals even in the Czech Republic where, for instance, a UK institution is as a partner because they contribute to the project. So it happens. And there is one question. Can I please ask for the microphone?
So the Slido question was my question, and I'd like to add to this. When you gave this example, you are talking about synergy grants or also about other ERC categories?
Yes,
because
yes, it is also for other categories. Yeah. Yes.
It just doesn't really fit well with what I expected, that the applicant has to be, it's a personal grant for one applicant, and
yes. Yes, it is.
Then there is a collaborator, right? So collaborator can be officially a team member in an ERC consolidator or advanced grant.
Yes, yes. Yeah. Maybe Lyudmyla will.
Yes, indeed.
Explain it
even
better than
in
me.
Individual projects, it is possible. So one last question before we move on to the next presentation.
Just very quick. I mean, there's a lot of money, a lot of it went to the UK and Switzerland. Have these ERC grants been evaluated? I mean, what's the counterfactual? If you wouldn't have thrown like 2 billion of taxpayer money every year, what would have happened? Would the research not have taken place? Or has any evaluation taken place?
Yes, these UK grants were evaluated permanently, yes. And then they had two possibilities. Either they move, so there is a portability of grants, so they were able to move with a grant to another European country, so there were such cases, yes. Or they did not obtain the funding, yes. Now it changed. You probably know that there is a new agreement, but I don't know if it will be already next year. That UK will be not only evaluated but also funded. And there was another example. It was Switzerland, and Swiss grants were not evaluated. They did not apply. Yes, even yes. So and there are some principles. That these countries, for example UK, they will send then some, because they are associated country, or they will be again associated country, so they will send some funding to ERC, yes. So it is not from the ERC budget, from the Horizon Europe, but some additional money which they sent for this funding of their projects.
If I may add a little, the same is for Israel, I think.
Yes, yes, the same.
Okay, so they pay for their own grants.
Yes, yes.
But they're evaluated within the whole scheme.
Yes, yes, exactly.
We have one more question, but I suggest to move on to the next presenter, and then we will have a general Q&A after the other two presentations, so we will get to this one as well. Thank you very much, Professor Valkárová. And now I'd like to welcome here Professor Zdeněk Strakoš, who will speak about the ERC as an opportunity for science in the Czech Republic. So please, Zdeněk, the floor is yours.
So good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I will not talk about technicalities. I will give more, I would say, a bit philosophical speech on what is needed in order to move on in the Czech Republic. That would be the main focus. So, yeah, we'll talk about opportunity that we have, and we are not using it fully here. And but first, perhaps we should address the question on which is important. What is the science in the meaning? So how the competition fits into the science when the science should be based on other things than competing? And so science is driven by inner curiosity. It cannot be done on, say, order. People who do really science, at least on the top level, that's because it's inside of them. They have a motivation which is given inside. They were born perhaps with this motivation, I don't know, or they were called to do it. That science is a vocation. There's other things like people who do good medicine, of course, it is a vocation. They would not be able to do it on order. With the science, it's the same. So curiosity and service is the main thing in science. And from that, it also follows that it is based on collaboration. That means that we share our findings and we are trying to help others to proceed in the direction that perhaps we started. That's how healthy science should look like. Well, but there's a problem here. And this problem is well characterized by a quote from one very highly distinguished mathematician and theoretical physicist. It's quite an old quote, 1966. He wrote in an essay called Why Mathematics that the emphasis from the time when he was young, that means early 20s, when all these big discoveries in theoretical physics in particular took place, and also in mathematics, so that the emphasis has shifted from the universal to the individual, from the it, that means we are working on something and we are taking the responsibility to finding something on behalf of all, to I. I have discovered that, to egos. And he's saying, well, this is very, very unhealthy. 1966. You can think about what happened in the meantime to our days and look at the society. And so that's a problem. Because now, how it is with this collaboration and competition? Because it looks now that many times the science is a competition, not a collaboration. Because people compete for prestige and for being on the top, being kind of in a shine of lights and etc. But this doesn't serve science very well. Because on the other hand, science in some sense is using competition, and we'll talk about ERC, and ERC is based on there are proposals that compete. So you can think that I'm talking nonsense, that I'm contradicting myself. So I'm trying to explain first that I'm not contradicting myself, because the competition is needed as a tool, but only if it is subordinate to some moral high goal. And here it is. That means if there is a competition, and competition as a tool must be put into the service of this high goal that is well morally established. And that's what ERC does. Because ERC is not a competition for competition. It doesn't mean to establish just the pool of some, say, big egos who will just look from above to others, but it really wished to support these individual researchers that would lead the others. That means that leading is a very, very big burden, and who haven't tried that doesn't know, but who have tried, then he or she knows. Leading means taking responsibility for all the others. And, well, this is getting harder and harder in today's science. I'm not talking now about the Czech Republic, I'm talking in the world overall. So it's not an easy task, but ERC took this. And it's a wonderful scheme that from the beginning really is trying to open, to just change this whole environment in order to, say, foster the initiative of individuals. And in this way, ERC is reshaping the science, not only within Europe, but within the world. And it's now with us for more than 15 years. And this reshaping is clearly visible. And unfortunately, we are still lagging behind very much. So the question is why. So we'll try to spend a few minutes on why it is so. Okay, think about it. What is the main obstacle, I think, within our environment? What I feel is the main obstacle. Science is based on hierarchy. Science is not a democratical tool because we don't vote for what is right. It is either right or it is wrong. Or it's something in between because we don't know, but we are trying to approach the right in the best way we can. Okay? And the lead can be taken only by those who have the abilities to lead. Okay? And that, I think, creates a problem because in today's society, and here, for whatever reason, it's maybe more present than in general, the hierarchy on this kind of vision of leadership is confused with inequalities. Hierarchy doesn't mean any inequality in any side, because every person is original person. I can have his own, her or own goal in the life, irreplaceable. So it's a nonsense to talk that hierarchy is in conflict with inequality, with equality. Okay? Equality is something different, because the value of a person is something different than whether he gets or doesn't get the ERC grant, for example. Okay? And that's the confusion. And in order to get successful, more successful also within the ERC, we have to support the hierarchy. There is no other way. Okay? So, what is the opportunity now here? So, you can see it visibly in the other countries. Just look at Germany, for example. This is a good example, close to us, closest to us, we'll say. And look at the system, like the person who just finishes PhD, what is for the person the opportunity to get the money, individual money now? I'm not talking general support, but individual money for grants. There is really very nicely done hierarchical systems by steps, by the individual institutions, by the governmental organizations, agencies, and it goes, so one step to another. And it's clear that the person who gets this support on some level then has bigger chance to go to the next step because he's more ready, already have tried the work, etc., etc. And on the top of this hierarchy is the international level, that's the ERC. Okay? So it's a clear path for the young, talented people just who feel this vocation, I would say, okay? That, okay, this is the path for me, for my life, how to go, how to proceed. I'm not going to give the names, you can look at it. But and this clear system exists there for decades. I know that very well because I have some collaborators who were young, and I was present in their, say, PhD times, when I was already kind of more senior person, and now they are distinguished people and professors in Germany, so I know very well the path which they went through. And this, unfortunately, doesn't exist here. Not that it doesn't, that we have no chance that it would not exist, because there are some building blocks of that, but this feeling of need for the hierarchy doesn't exist. Okay? We even have some examples of opposing to the hierarchy, okay? Like the system that supports young talents at the institutions, individual institutions, are sometimes put into the conflict of the contradiction with the national support, which is totally crazy. I mean, in this way, we just cut off these people from this line. They start on some line and they are forbidden to continue on a higher step, to go to a higher step. This is absolutely wrong. And this is, unfortunately, this feeling is appearing. I felt that many years ago already. saying that no, we should not go this way because this would harm someone who will not get there. Well, but that's the only way how to get to the top, is to go through this hierarchy. If we cut it off, we cannot go to the top. That's that easy. And we are trying to do something with this problem of our, say, not sufficient performance within the ERC, because as Dr. Valkárová said, you know, yes, we underperform. We do have talents. We can be much better with the ERC than we are. It's not that we can't. We can. It's in our hands. And we simply don't do it. Okay? And if we do something on, say, national level, then it is on the form of, okay, let's give some applicants who get some support. I'm not going to give you particular support. It doesn't matter, you know. You can find that. Then they have an obligation to apply for the ERC. But this is not a solution at all. You know. This simply cannot work. And why it cannot work? Because ERC requires inner motivation. The system must be built in such a way that the people by the environment and their own institutions and in general in the whole country, again, the people who feel this vocation, okay, this is my part, that's part for me, let's do it, okay? I'm obliged to do that, okay? So then they have open doors. And this inner motivation leads to good ERC proposals, not the must, the order. I know what I'm talking about because we are trying to help ERC applicants for many years with a group of other volunteers, and we have been hit. This whole system that will be presented, I will just touch it, and then Lyudmyla will continue with presenting the technical things, and the others then later on after lunch. So we have been hit by this, that we are now having a couple of people who simply have to apply for the ERC, but they don't really have any inner motivation. They just have to fulfill. Doesn't work. And then we have them, and they really don't care that much, you know. And instead of working with the people who do care, then we are, I would say, spending time with those people who really are just forced to. This is way to nowhere. So what we have on the other hand, and this is a unique scheme, is the program ERC CZ. That means that the people who get good evaluation within the ERC, then they have a very good chance to be funded for part of the time or for the full time by the Czech government. This is absolutely fantastic program in principle. The idea was born a long time ago, and it was not easy to push it through, but then it was done. It was repeatedly reapproved by the Czech government, and there's quite a reasonable money in there. And I have some good news that this money has been, in this situation that we are now, they're not going to be dropped. This money has been increased recently. And there is a very good chance that this program will I would say, expand. The practice, for those of you, maybe you'll be able to have somebody in the afternoon talking about the ERC recipient of that, so who experienced that in practice can testify that the way it is really applied is not really good, and essentially sometimes it goes even against principles of the ERC. This is going to change, and I have to, I'm very pleased to report that in this way the actions that are recently taken by both the Minister of Science and the Ministry of Education goes hand in hand in a very positive way. So we can expect really changes for the next call, which might be, and I hope really that it will be, early spring next year for the ERC CZ, but even in the future where the whole program will be revised and again hopefully accepted by the Czech government. So this is a tool that really is unique in some way in the European level, and we should use it. And that should be, when I talk about this hierarchy, that should be top on our national hierarchy. Because we have now grant applications that went through the very difficult competition, probably one of the toughest, if not the toughest competitions for individual grants within the world, so we can use it. And if we accept the idea that this hierarchy is needed, and ERC is the top and shows the way how it should be done, because it is backed by the ERC itself and uses the experience from the ERC, we will move forward very fast. But there is this prerequisite, as I've said. There is this thing that we have to do. Okay, so what can be done? Here are the general things that it is not applied to, say, government or somebody, to everyone. Everyone at every institution. This is very important. So be open to inspirations. Simply create internationally standard working conditions locally at every little place. It is not that somebody will do it for us. Somebody, you know, some Tsar will come and will change the situation. No. If we don't change it all, nobody will do it for us. It must go from the bottom and from the top at once. So it is very important. Many people, the whole society or whole, say, community of scientists have to work on that. Prioritize practical actions that welcome scientists from abroad. We are still kind of hostile many times to the scientists from abroad. It's absolutely terrible. It's happening. I know cases, many cases of that hostility. It's not written, but it is in the practice. Please, we should completely change our attitude towards evaluation of research. Again, Dr. Valkárová mentioned that within the ERC. ERC really declared DORA, which is Declaration of Research Assessment, adopted quite a time ago, in its importance. What is the main idea? Main idea is just do not use any kinds of points in evaluation. Look what is inside, what is the result. Just to show you how deep we are in this illness here of wrong things. Look at whatever materials you'll get in your hands about evaluation something, and look how people identify results, scientific results, that means knowledge, with dissemination. You know, results of projects are meant publications. But this is crazy. Publications, of course, if we have something new, so we have to publish it. But this is only the way how to publish this knowledge. Results are knowledge, not the publications. And that's a big difference between the philosophy of ERC and the philosophy that we apply still here from the very beginning. Because for the ERC, knowledge is what we wish to. Within the ERC, again, we are fighting that with helping the applicants, because we always have they are planning, you know, how many papers will they put into Q1 or first decile. Crazy for the ERC applications. The evaluators at panels will just laugh at it. I mean, they're coming from where? From Mart, or, you know? So no points. And systematically support applicants for the ERC. Those people who are on this level, who feel that vocation and who can lead the others and help. So that's the way out of that. Okay, so what is the existing support? I will just touch it very quickly because Lyudmyla will talk about that in detail. It's organized by volunteers. not by some governmental, say, order or something, but it's organized now for many years, and with the help of academy in particular, and Academy of Sciences and the Charles University, and in particular Technology Center of Technology Center of Czech Academy of Sciences, which is not now. Technology Center Prague should be there. Sorry for that, Lyudmyla. So we work together. Technology Center organizes everything, just puts, creates this environment, technical environment, does all this correspondence, and otherwise we would not be able to do it. And then is a group of scientists who went through ERC panels, ERC grants, etc. So they do have a thorough experience, and they just put their own time voluntarily for the sake of new applicants, and they're trying to help them. And we organize the program. Technology Center is doing the rest. They are just helping us to do this. So we're organizing systems of workshops, and three workshops which are in the line, and then the mock interviews for those who are in the second round of evaluation. And also support ERC pipelines and individual institutions. What does it mean? We are trying to support the institution to explain them what they should do in order to locate and find and help their own researchers, which they have. And of course, we do individual consultations all the time, and also raising and undistorted ERC awareness, because there are many, say, myths about ERC within our country. And I should mention two main changes, just for those of you who knew how our system worked in the past. So for the 2024, we will change the system, how people will enter the workshops, because we will not anymore evaluate materials that are sent to us for the workshops. We will require materials, we require abstract, and there's 4 pages of CV and track record in the new narrative, and using exactly the rules of the ERC, but we will not evaluate them, and we will be just on the first come, first serve basis. Okay, we'll just open the registration, we'll get 50 people done, the registration will be closed. Okay, but we will not evaluate content, but we will check. If it will not be according to the ERC rules, the person will not be accepted, because it doesn't make any sense to accept somebody who didn't look what the ERC is and is not ready. Okay, so if it is done within the ERC rules, that means it will be according to that and will look good. That person will be accepted on the first come, first serve basis. And the second, which is very important change, we will not anymore accept for the workshops PIs for the advanced grants and the synergy grants, unless for the synergy they are on this starting and consolidator level. There's very good reason for that, because it's very difficult to mix these categories together. And we should really focus on young generation. So we wish to do that. That doesn't mean we'll cut off completely advanced grantees, applicants for the advanced grants from any help, but this will be left on the individual basis. Because they have, of course, advanced people who apply for advanced grants, they have the peers around, they're much more, say, flexible, have their own opportunities. We can help them, of course, and we'll do that. I'm doing it all the time. And, but we'll not allow them to enter the workshops, because we'll just put the workshops just for the young, that means starting and consolidated category. But we really ask the individual institutions. I'm doing that every year, and not only once, but many times. We cannot move forward without really changing this attitude of individual institutions. That means support of individual institutions and individual people, because we cannot find the people, these people who are talented, who really feel this vocation to apply for the ERC. That's the role of the institutions. And the second, we cannot just finalize the projects with them. We can work only with this B1 part, And we cannot just look at the very last moment and ensure that this B2 part is finished. We can see that there is, in some institutions where there is this good environment, that they have a good success rates of the people who are in the second round of evaluation. But in general, in the nation, we don't. In Charles University, we don't, unfortunately. We are losing many people. They are in the second round of evaluation, but instead of about 1/2 getting the grants, we are having something like maybe 20%, which is a problem, systematic problem. We cannot resolve on the level of the experts organizing the workshops. That must be done by the individual workplaces. Okay. So what can be done on kind of this a little bit philosophical level? Yes, we should completely erase this, what was here when we started this work a long time ago. So it was, we know all we don't need ERC. I have heard that many times for even highly ranked officials, you know. I was considered a crazy guy or maybe even some, I don't know, who is even doing wrong thing for the Czech science because I'm trying to promote this ERC. Even those, I can document it in writing, but I'm not going to put that, you know. Second, we should really understand that preparing for the ERC grant is not only the question of you get it or not, don't get it, you know. If you go through all this process, it's very rewarding for your whole career, for your way you think about your work in the future, even if you don't get ERC grant. It works that way. Again, we can confirm that by experience because during these years we worked with hundreds of people already. Some of them are abroad now in a very top position, even if they don't get ERC grants. Some of them are on the top position here, and they are doing absolutely great science, even if they don't get ERC grant, okay? So it doesn't mean if, you know, if I hear from someone, say, argument, I am not going to write to say waste time with writing another grant application. That's why I'm not applying to ERC. That means that this person has absolutely no idea what the ERC is about. You know? And there's a problem that we still don't have this in the community outside of our country, in the successful countries. It is a standard ERC now. It's a standard. It is not some, say, top, you know, like something on the top of the cake. No, no, no. This is completely wrong attitude. We still have it something on the top of the cake. Completely wrong. Okay? And yes, considering ERC seriously is very rewarding in long-term period for institutions and for people as well. Okay? And ERC is trying the best to help, and what Dr. Valkárová have demonstrated that. ERC is continuously rethinking this whole program, trying what we can do to help them. We should respond in saying, yes, okay, we accept this help and we'll change our attitudes. And that's the way to get better. So we are here to do our best to help you also, if we are allowed to do so. Because we cannot help those people who think that the ERC grant can be written within 1 week or something like that. Okay, it cannot work this way. It's a change of the whole attitude for the life in my science. Doesn't matter whether you get it or not. That's all what I wish to say. I'm very happy to see all of you, many of you here, and thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Zdeněk, for your speech about why it is important to try attempting to apply for the ERC. I propose that I will follow with my presentation because we don't have much time. My presentation will be a bit of repetition of what has been already mentioned, but I consider it important so that we are all on the same level of knowledge. So I will speak about the rules of participation, about the proposal structure, and also a bit more about the support system that is in the Czech Republic. Let me start with reiterating some of the founding principles the ERC is based on. So the ERC supports bottom-up, investigator-driven research, so there are no top-down priorities. There is exclusive focus on excellence. There are no other evaluation criteria as in other Horizon Europe calls. The support is truly tied to principal investigators, which means that it does not belong, the grant does not belong to host institution, and these scientists are free to move with their grant throughout Europe. ERC is open to scientists from whichever country in the world under the condition that they have their host institution in an EU member state or country associated to Horizon Europe. There is one exception, which is synergy grants, but we can speak about that in the Q&A if you wish. I will mostly focus on individual schemes today. So the ERC has coined 5 schemes. 3 are intended for individual applicants, 1 is a collaborative scheme, and then there is 1 complementary scheme for existing PIs. Let's speak first about individual schemes. The ERC starting grants is intended for scientists who have at least 2 years of postdoc practice and who can demonstrate that they already are independent from their previous supervisors. The consolidator grants does not differ from the starting grants in the sense that there are other requirements considering the project, but the scientists, the PI, should already have, or is expected to have at this career stage, already a team, and they typically have some experience with leading projects. If you wish to apply for an advanced grant, you are supposed to be an established leader in the field with a track record of profound research achievements. So the grants, the individual schemes I just spoke about, the only thing they differ in is the career stage, basically, the scientist is at, and there are different expectations considering what he or she has supposed to achieve. Now let's speak about the synergy grants. So their main goal is to support research which one PI could not resolve alone. To this aim, 2 to 4 PIs get together, they form a team. Each of the PIs is supposed to be seen as excellent, is in this age category they belong to. They are supposed to be seen as absolutely essential for the implementation of the project, which means that none is supposed to be seen as solely, added just for the sake of having the person there. They are absolutely essential. So this grant is not considered consortial grant because, again, the grant does not belong to the host institution, but solely to the PI. Portability is kept. And PIs are seen as equals, and they are jointly responsible for the implementation of the project. And finally, we have proof of concept grants. These grants, as I said, this is complementary funding, which is supposed to help further develop findings of an ongoing or recently finished ERC project. So for most of you, it will probably not be relevant for now, but hopefully in the future as well. There are 2 main obligations that each PI should fulfill. There is a universal obligation considering geographical scope, let's say. So each PI should work minimum 50% of the time in an EU member state or country associated to Horizon Europe. And then there is a minimum time commitment of working for the project. It varies across the schemes. It is the amount which is highlighted in red. So it varies between 50 to 30%. It can be, of course, more if you wish to, but this is the minimum. And now let's speak a bit more about ERC calls and eligibility rules. So this is the calendar that you have already seen. In fact, 2 calls have been extended because of the situation in the Middle East. So today is the deadline for the Synergy grant applicants. And we are expecting that 2025 calendar will probably be known, at least the preliminary dates will be known in spring of next year. For starting and consolidator grant applicants, there are always precise dates set in the work program, so the eligibility window is known beforehand. And what I would like to emphasize is that since last year, the reference date has changed from the date of the actual award of the PhD title to the date of the successful PhD defense. So it is the date which counts, and you should keep that in mind when counting your eligibility. There are also grounds why to request an extension. Typically, it is maternity or paternity leave, but it can be also long-term illness. Quite recently, there were 2 new grounds also added. These are natural disaster and seeking asylum. But importantly, I'd like to mention unemployment does not count in ERC as an eligible ground for requesting extension. Now let's speak about some restrictions on the submission of proposals. So generally, within one work program, you can apply only once. You have to choose just one scheme which you will apply to. So you cannot, for instance, apply to starting as well as synergy grants within one work program which is in force. And there are also resubmission restrictions, which should give you some time to work on your proposals to improve them. So as you can see, there are more strict rules for individual schemes, I would say, than for synergy schemes. And there is no, so to say, linkage between the two. So if you applied for synergy grants but did not succeed, you can still apply to individual calls. Importantly, if you have even a new topic, completely new topic, this resubmission restrictions are tied to the person of the PI. So even if the topic is new, you still cannot apply. And now a few words about the proposal structure. So the structure is very similar to other Horizon Europe proposals. There is a general part A, which is submitted online. There is a section about budget, importantly as well. So in the proposal itself, in the scientific part, you do not need to elaborate on the budget in any way, except for synergy grants, which has a specific section in the B2. But for individual schemes, you do not, it is not expected. And then there are ethics and security issues sections, and it is where you also indicate your time commitment. I suggest to devote substantial time to the A part because it can surprise you. There are quite many questions you have to go through. The scientific part itself is divided into 2 parts, B1 and B2. Both have to be submitted at once. So this is a single stage call, but they are evaluated in 2 rounds. So part B1 consists of the extended synopsis and CV and track record, and also an abstract. The abstract is very important because it helps the chair of the panel to distribute proposals to panel members for evaluation. So pay enough attention to that as well. And part B2 is newly, sorry, I'm a bit ill, so bear with me today. Part B2 newly includes also the funding ID, which means the list of ongoing projects that you are leading, as well as, oh, thank you. So it includes the list of ongoing projects as well as the proposals that you have applied for. And the part B2 is evaluated, as I said, in the second round, only if you are accepted to the next step. So you should pay enough attention to both parts, as Zdeněk mentioned in his speech, because it is crucial to not negatively, let's say, surprise your evaluators that your B2 is not sufficiently developed. And then there are mandatory supporting documentation, which is the PhD certificate in case of starting and consolidator grant applicants, and of course the host institution support letter. We have already spoken about the profile of the PI. The template has changed from this year, and as has been mentioned several times, the ERC is moving away from metrics towards a more holistic assessment. So a narrative is now very much encouraged. You should describe how you have contributed to the field and describe your scientific achievements in a more narrative way than using impact factor and even your age index. It has been also mentioned that the Scientific Council regularly reviews the scientific panel structure. So this year there is a new panel, SH8. It has been added, and you should always think about, this is one of the most crucial decisions to take, which panel to apply to. So I believe that evaluators will have many tips how to decide this. And now let's speak about financial rules. So the budget that the ERC offers is, of course, one of the most attractive features about these grants, because they offer independence for quite a long time. As you can see, those amounts are highlighted again in red. Apart from that, you can also ask for so-called additional funding. There are 4 reasons why to ask for this additional amount of money. These are reallocation costs for those PIs who move from a third country, for instance, the US, Canada, to the EU. Then if you wish to purchase an expensive equipment or get access to large facilities, and finally for experimental and field work. ERC has 3 funding models as for now. First, there is the standard actual costs model, which is applied for starting and consolidator grant applicants. Then there is the proof of concept fixed lump sum model, which means that there is one amount which all the projects have without any deviation. And then there is the new model, which will be applied to advanced grants. And the reason why it has been applied newly is to basically alleviate the burden of financial audits and try to focus more on the scientific progress. So there will be no more audits of invoices, personal costs, there will be no more timesheets requested. To this aim, you will have to be more detailed in the proposal itself. So the budget table as we know it will be a bit more developed, there will be more columns. And the payment itself will be done in two parts. There will be an 80% prepayment, and then you will get 20% upon completion of activities. If you have any questions about budget, what I suggest is to contact my colleagues, financial and legal NCPs. They also do pre-screenings of proposals, so feel free to get in touch with them. And now I will speak about the support that we offer here in the Czech Republic. We are truly happy that we have an awesome community of scientists here in the Czech Republic, which is truly willing to help young applicants. So this cooperation is based on strong collaboration between me as ERC NCP and the scientific community. At the core, there is the expert group for supporting ERC applicants. Today, you will have the opportunity to meet many of the members of this body. And apart from these experts, we also collaborate with many other scientists who have experience with ERC, either as grantees or panel members. I'd like to also highlight that newly we have been also trying to make use of the ERC mentoring initiative. So we also try to involve experts from abroad to our support events. So the activities in support of ERC applicants can be divided in three parts. The first one is the event which you are currently attending. It is the National Information Day. It is suggested to always attend this event at least 1 or even 2 years before the submission so that you have enough time to think about your project. Then there are workshops, and these are divided in three parts. They are intended for those who already are seriously and intensively working on their proposal. This workshop has three main parts. You can see the main aim of each of them on the screen. So you will get feedback on whether your idea is relevant for ERC. Then we work with an already evaluated proposal, so you can get acquainted with a proposal which already got funding. You can also interact with the one who wrote it. And last but not least, you get feedback on your B1 part. So I'd like to truly highlight what Zdeněk has said, which is we accept applicants to our workshops based on the materials. Newly, there will be no evaluation, but it does not mean that you should not pay enough attention to drafting your preliminary proposal. So if it is not in line with what ERC expects, you will simply not be admitted. So still, please pay enough attention to that so that we do not have to explain it later on. It will be truly important to bear it in mind. And last but not least, we also organize mock interviews. So if you are accepted to the second step of evaluation, then we will be truly happy to help you with preparing your speech. And last but not least, the ERC CZ program. I will not go in depth because, as Zdeněk mentioned, it is undergoing, let's say, it is being re-evaluated and reassessed. So what we can only say is that it will continue, hopefully in a better way even. you can, of course, it is a nice encouragement, I believe, for applicants. So we can assure you that this support will be still available. And last but not least, some essential documents that you should go through before writing your proposal. Of course, the ERC Work program, the information for applicants, and then in the portal, which I have not included in my presentation today, so the proposal template is available in the Funding and Tender Opportunities portal after the call is opened. And then you have some further links to materials we have prepared for you, including some videos on how to prepare an ERC budget. And this is it from me. Thank you very much for attention. And now we will go directly to the questions. I will just change the seats. So the first question is, are there any specific reasons identified of the low performance of applications from widening countries?
I guess on the, say, philosophical level, I have identified what is the main reason for our country. Technically, it's a complex issue. Symptoms, after 15 years, still this awareness of the about what is ERC, etc., how should be, is still very low. It's amazing, you know. If there was a national search recently by sociologists, and one of the issues was also ERC, and about, I would say, I don't know the number, but exactly, but about 40% of scientists said, I'm not aware what it is. So that's a part of it. And the other part is the people just don't see the difference between, again, I'm going back to this hierarchy, don't see the difference between the national tools and the ERC. But ERC is on the top of that. So it's something, it's like if you go from, say, Czech Moravian highlands to Himalaya or something like that. I'm just putting it a little bit, okay? So that's a part of it too. But the awareness is the main thing. I think we do have talents, there is no problem, etc. But yeah, we don't have the environment. Matthew, please. Matthew would like to say. That's Professor Matthew Rampley. You will hear him later on. But Matthew, just wait, you'll get.
Oh yeah. I could offer a kind of a addition to your observation, actually, Zdeněk, to kind of flesh things out. And I say that because I've also been on GACHA and on the National Science Council panel in Poland and Romania and also Estonia, and I see similar kinds of problems. I can only talk about the humanities, but I think I can see there are a number of reasons maybe why applications are not competitive from the Czech Republic and in much of East Central Europe in the domain of the humanities, and that's to do with the conception of research. There is still an idea that research is about gathering facts and information. So there's an idea that research is basically like stamp collecting. And I mean, I remember being on panels in GACHA when I had arguments about this with other panelists for projects, you know, that they just are not intellectually ambitious because people think it's enough simply go to an archive and collect some material. That is not going to get you anywhere internationally. I think the second reason is to do with the culture of publishing, and I was particularly struck by the fact that in future, you know, you'll only be able to publish, what is it, or submit 10 public outputs for in terms of your profile. Because the problem is that here there's still a culture of publishing lots and lots of quite mediocre, trivial articles, rather than, and people think the more things you publish, the better. And you get, I know I've had conversations with colleagues who will say, I published 10 things this year, and you know that most of them will probably be like Wikipedia articles and nothing more than that, because to publish good research takes time. And this, I think, will be all the more important given that the number of publications you submit will, as part of your application, will be smaller. So you cannot flood your application with long lists of really quite mediocre articles. It's really important to to focus on smaller numbers of much more substantial leading articles, which is why, to come back to the question or what Zdeněk, what you said in your talk, we have it in our hands. Maybe the first thing people here could do, colleagues here could do, would be to stop publishing so much, publish less, but publish better quality things, because there's it's a cause and effect relationship. Anyway, that's enough of my sermon. I'm sure lots of other people have questions.
Agreed completely.
Thank you very much, Matthew. So the next question, will this seminar cover the possibility of funding from the Czech national level to cover ERC-related proposals which didn't make it to the final round? Probably ERC sees that.
Okay, so I don't think that there will be such a funding available in the future, even now. There's a good reason for that, we are not that rich that we can just put the money to all the people who apply for the ERC. That's impossible. Have a look how much money are put in the ERC budget. But there is another reason for that. Many applicants who got eventual ERC grants from all countries in Europe and out of the Europe, who are now ERC grantees, don't get it with their first applications. I know grantees who wrote excellent grants, who got it after second, third, or even fourth application. And that's what we need to do. That means the people who apply don't get it, and they say, okay, let's give up. I don't have time for reapplying again. No, I will better just play these local Czech games. That's the problem. The attitude is different. People from abroad, if they don't get the grant, they look what were the responses, what was the evaluation, they learn from that and they apply again. We don't do it many times, okay? So there is no reason why we should just give money just when application is unsuccessful from the national budget. We don't have this money, but there is other reason. We should really try to get the money from outside. We should show that we are competitive.
Thank you, Zdeněk. The next question is related to our workshops. What is the reason behind changing the application procedure? Shall this mean being more open considering the applicants?
Yeah, that's exactly for me. There are several reasons. I don't know exactly what it means more open here, because it can be interpreted in different ways. Because we were open to other applicants, I think always. We were not closed to any of the applicants, but we were in a very difficult position. We can get into the system of workshops of about not more than, say, 50 people. It's not manageable. If you look at the, say, good ERC grants that I applied from the Czech Republic every year, so it's about 30, roughly. And that's what we have in the workshops, that at the end, from the 50 that we get, so maybe 25 roughly aren't applying, and so it's still there is some drop, which is fine. This is not a problem. It can happen. They reapply next year or something. That's not an issue. But simply, it's impossible to work on this level, how we said, because we don't have a building with the offices, having some, say, not doing our work and just helping to ERC applicants. We do it on the top of our work. Okay? So we are volunteers who do that. As I've said, without help of Lyudmyla and her colleagues before, who were there, Petra, Fedorová, Perutková, Zuzka, Čapková, so we would not be able to do it at all, because they will really do all this environment for us. But more than 50 is impossible. And that means that we had in the past like twice as much or even more applicants. So we have to reduce this number. So how to do it? You can just look at it and evaluate these individual proposals. But then you are in a big trouble. There are two troubles. One is just on our side. That means it's very difficult to evaluate when you have very young people and more senior people, for example, okay? So sometimes we had to drop very young people who were very early after the PhD, say 2 years of PhD, thought they were very talented. But we said, well, there's still time. Maybe 1 more year would help, okay? But it is a very hard decision, because it happened to us also that we say, for that reason, not for the other, just please wait, come the next year, now we need to serve the others. And then the person got ERC grant. We work with that person later for the mock interview. But you know, these decisions are terribly hard, so how will you do it? So that's on our side. But there is also one issue which is even much more important. It takes, you cannot imagine how much time it takes to evaluate this, and that the people feel, those people who are not admitted, they feel that, well, but we should get, as a reward for what we wrote, a feedback back. But it's simply not in the physical possibilities of those people who are doing that. And there is kind of a strange resentment that, okay, I was not admitted, so who knows what they are doing. They have their own, you know, circles, or they admit more, Charles University or the other one. You know, I can really confirm that within this community of this expert group, there is absolutely no difference based on what is the institution. You know? We are not admitting the people from our own institution. We are sometimes even more rough to our institutions than to the others, because we are trying to help to just make the widening within Czech Republic so that the ERC grants will be spread to more institutions. We are doing that on purpose. So we in the past were admitting just some people who perhaps were not really that good, that some others that we have to not to admit, because we thought that it would be very helpful for the institution itself. Okay. But these decisions are terribly hard, and they create this resentment. So we came to the position that simply it doesn't work well. So that means that, and moreover, also it helped in some sense that the institutions now understand that they must send good materials. So we thought now is the time to change. And we will still require the same materials. We will just check for their completeness and according to, as we said, ERC spirit and rules. But we will not just make for us, we will not spend this, say, month by terrible work trying to make an order and making draw some line and cut off, okay? We'll just admit those people based on, we'll say, okay, this registration will be opened at time, everyone will publicize that widely, and then who will be there will be there. If, providing that the materials are complete and according to the rules. And there will be also some, of course, some people just in reserve, just in case somebody will drop out for whatever reason, so there will be something in the reserve. But we'll keep this about 50, we'll distribute that across the fields, okay? But that's why we came to that point. As far for why we restrict for starting and the consolidators, because I think the advanced can help yourselves much more than the young people. And we have to focus on the future. I'm an old man, but I see the future in helping these young people, because they really can bring this change. That doesn't mean, as I've said before, that I in any way restrict to more senior people, and I work with them all the time. Whoever comes to me or comes to us, not only me, and we are able to, so we work with these people individually. But for the workshops, I think it's very healthy just to focus on starting and consolidators.
Thank you. There is one more question about the workshops, so I will highlight it. You have already spoken about that, Zdeněk. If you wish to elaborate on that, it is related to the procedure, how to get to the workshops. It is a bit premature, I would say.
Oh, okay. It's a bit premature, but now it's 2025 call. You know, there's a year ahead. Now we will have 2024 calls. Okay, so we are talking about 2024. So we expect to keep the same system for the future. Okay. And we, all people, unanimously, within the expert group, we have a discussion, thorough discussion, which took a couple of weeks. And we unanimously agreed with this change, okay? So that's how we will do. We'll just, through the system that we have, we spread the information well ahead about the date and time of opening the registration, about how the materials should be sent, etc. This will be well done. Well, we still have time for that. We will try to do it in such a way that this timing will not interfere with the deadline for submitting gotcha grants, for example, because we do understand that this interference puts the pressure, so we'll try to eliminate that. In the past, it was impossible, because we needed to have this time to evaluate. Now we'll not have this, so we'll have some way 1 month possibility, so we'll just move it for 2 weeks or something like that. But this still, you know, this will be announced perhaps sometimes at the end of January. We will announce the whole thing, and we'll just distribute it widely so that you'll get it, don't worry. And it will be on our web pages, etc. But we will send it actively to all the institutions, etc. In addition to putting on our web pages of Technology Center at Charles University, and etc., etc. Okay?
So speaking about, from our point of view, Technology Centre Prague, we will definitely distribute it to all the institutions, but we would like to ask the institutions to help us to spread it to those who would be interested in participating. So please collaborate with us. It is important. There is one more question about the workshops, and it is related to synergy grants. Is there any specific support? Zdeněk, would you like to take it?
Yes. No. Again, you know, synergy grant is very different from this individual grants. It's a little bit kind of consortia system. That means you must have 2 to 4 equal, in the sense of quality, roughly equal PIs. That means it must be balanced, really, because this is, I would say, the most important thing in the evaluation of the synergy grants, that it must not be like one and the other one is just solving some particular question. This is not a synergy. And so because of that, again, applicants for the synergy grants, they have much more possibility to help themselves. So they should be more independent than the people who just after PhD apply for starting, or even who apply for consolidators. And we cannot do all. We cannot resolve all the problems in the world. So that's why we will focus on starting and consolidators and not on synergy. With the exception, because synergy is not just reserved for the people on the advanced level. No, even people on the starting level can form the group and apply for synergy. In this case, we will we will just admit them, because this is not restricted to applications for synergy, for starting consolidators. This is restricted to the applicants in the category that they can apply for starting or consolidators, okay? If they eventually apply for synergy, that's fine. But we will not accept applicants on the advanced level for the workshops.
Thank you. And the next question. We tend to have better results in natural sciences. What is the best way to support Czech proposals in social sciences?
Matthew have mentioned that in a way, but just the, you know, when we started with this, there was absolutely no response for the humanities, nothing. Now it has changed. We have detailed statistics for the Charles University, for example, and we see the shift. We are very happy about it. So now we really see very nice proposals that are coming from social sciences. We do have grants now from social sciences. And so this will grow. It is just many reasons for that. Natural sciences were in a good position. Faculty of Mathematics and Physics were in a good position, good starting position, because it was not that affected by politics, for example, in the very past. So there were really good people in that, in general, I think. I don't mean that in social sciences there were not good people at the positions, but on average, I mean, just for natural sciences, ideologically it was not that affected in the past, and so they were in better position. That is a part of that, okay? But now it's changing, and I'm very, very happy to see that. Really, we do have, you know, we are very sorry that some of the applications from the SSH didn't make it, because they were really marvelous proposals. They just buy a tiny thing, and now we do have. The same for the medical applications from the medical fields. So we do have now not the grants yet. Well, we do have grants. Masaryk University, for example, but we didn't say our Charles University. We also do have applications now who are in the second round of evaluation. So it's showing that yes, it is possible. And we also, we have them now in every call, actually. So this shows the change. It just needs to, the people must feel that, oh, it's doable. Okay? It's doable, so let's do it. You know, so it will just grow. It was just the starting point was very different. And what the Matthew said, yes, it is to some extent specific for the SSH. Again, for mathematics or physics, it was different. For mathematics, it was a little bit unfortunate at the beginning. We had a couple of very good proposals which were not evaluated, I would say, on the top level, even on the ERC. So they didn't make it because they were just under the line a little bit only, but they were, this harmed the start because the people said, oh, let's give up, don't apply. But it's coming back. I think we will see ERC grants in mathematics more and more and in the future. But in general, I see that's how I said. Okay.
Thank you. Next question is about, yes, you can, of course.
Yes, so don't worry. Yes, because this evaluation is done by panelists, and panelists definitely don't know that we have something like a ERC CZ program, yes. And moreover, there are more than 15 countries around the Europe which has also some similar program, yes. So panelists they don't know about something about ERC CZ, and these are panelists who decide about the ranking, yes. So, for example, of course, the Scientific Council knows about ERC CZ, but they have no influence, yes, to correct it or do some changes, yes. So don't worry.
Maybe if I may add a little bit, you know, we had a grant in the past who didn't pass, got A, but didn't get the funding from the ERC, and there was a comment by one of the evaluators that, well, there is this ERC CZ. The person was the recipient of the ERC CZ. But, you know, it's good to, it is not a problem factually. It's just, of course, it must not be double funding. I have the ERC CZ and now I am just resending again the same proposal. That can create a problem. But it's possible to do that. It's not a problem. We had many examples of the people who had ERC CZ, like in 2 years of you know, from the 5 years. So after 2 years, they apply for the ERC grant and they got it with no problem. You know, it's doable. It is not a problem in principle. It just needs a little cautiousness when you explain what is your current funding and what is this role related to your current ERC proposal. But it can be easily done. And this case that I've mentioned, that it was really a beautiful grant, and I'm very sorry they didn't get it. But at the same year, there was another application of another person who had ERC CZ, and he got it without any problem. Okay, so this is not a principal problem at all.
Thank you. And the next question is also probably for Zdeněk. It is about how to prove the independence of an applicant who applies to starting grant call. Okay. Independence is not only with respect to your supervisor, PhD supervisor, but also, say, to the group that you were in a postdoc level, etc. That also. What it means, independence? You must show that in your work you already visibly had ideas that were not the ideas of somebody else. This is not visible if essentially all what you have written, published, or say developed is with the pack of the group of your supervisor, PhD supervisor, or your mentor at the postdoc stage. It doesn't mean that if you have publications with your mentor of the postdoc stage, for example, a very good one, etc., that this disqualifies you. No, no, no. Because again, within the ERC, there is no bureaucracy in evaluation. This evaluation is based on thorough discussion, and if you just explain how these things are, they do understand. These people do understand in the panels. And they understand that they are trying to help you. They don't wish to kill your proposal. That's why also this narrative form of the CV and the track record is a really step forward for us. Because you can explain, well, I have this publication is with this, but what was the role? I have started this, etc., etc. You can explain that much, much better than it was done in the past, where facts kind of were winning in comparison to the narrative explanations. You have to explain clearly that you already had an idea which led to something, to the discoveries, etc. That's the way how to do it. Thank you. And the very last question is also for Zdeněk. A couple of months ago, Charles University conducted a survey to understand why not many researchers apply for ERC grants. What is your opinion about it?
Well, I think it's a good survey and we'll work with it. There are some answers that are interesting, I would say. Interesting in the sense that shows that the people are not informed well. But there are some responses, or say most of the responses, that indicate problems on the institutional level. Be convinced that I will work with it. I cannot tell you that I cannot change, you know, I am not, I would not put some names of some dictators now here, but But I'm not a person who can guarantee that the change will be tomorrow, or that I cannot. We just are trying what we can. But we'll work with these surveys very seriously. And please, anytime next, do this. Take part in such surveys. The people, we can change this environment only if we do it together. We cannot do it just from the top, because if it is heard from the bottom and it matches what we are saying from the top, that then helps a lot.
Thank you for the answer. And the very last one is probably for me. With whom can we discuss the questions related to the budget? So, as I mentioned in my presentation, I recommend to contact my colleagues, financial and legal NCPs. And if you send us the budget together with the justification, they can go through it and give you recommendations what to improve. So do not hesitate to contact them. And I will also ask people here in the room, perhaps there is anyone who has a question and we haven't given you the chance to ask. Yes, there is one in the very back.
My question is about advanced grants, because you were saying that the PI should be like an international recognized researcher, but then it was mentioned before that in the CV, now there is like a kind of new structure for the CV that is without numbers, without H-index, and just like you can even like write some paragraphs trying to describe that you are able to conduct this research. So my point it is that you can be able to conduct like a nice and interesting research and high quality without being like internationally recognized, probably. So I find it kind of contradictory, because you can be internationally recognized, but you cannot conduct this particular research, or the opposite.
I don't think that there's any contradiction, because if you write a narrative, that means explaining facts, there must be some facts behind, okay? There's no difference. What we are saying is that it has no meaning to write long lists of things that happened and long lists of publications. What is important to explain, why is this what I've done important? But that assumes that you have done something, okay? So there are some facts that they are talking about. So there's absolutely no contradiction. It's only that you are allowed and you are asked to explain better to the evaluators why you are the right person, why you have the credibility. So that's the step forward, because the lists of things can write everyone. And then it's just the people say, okay, so what we should do? So this has more nature paper that is signed, and it doesn't have, so perhaps this one. And these discussions are now excluded, because it is based on really what is important in your work before. But then it must be something important, so it doesn't mean that the facts will disappear.
Thank you. Another question? If there is no more question, I would like to thank both speakers.